Welcome back. In this particular session, we are going to learn about fetching of the data based on the condition. So the condition is, I would say, like the where clause. So based on the where clause, I would like to see utilizing the where clause with the different keywords that we have within the MySQL. So in earlier session, we have discussed about selecting of the data, okay, and selecting of the data is for all. But in this specific query, what I am trying to do is I am just fetching the employee ID, employee name and designation where, so it is from employee and where the department is IT. So if you see, without using the department and IT, I was able to fetch all the 10 records that we have. But if I want to know what are the records that I have in only specific to IT department, I can fetch those records by for that IT department using the where clause, right? So you might be having a scenario where you want to use the multiple clauses for to fetch the data, right? In case of multiple clauses, so when you are using the where, you can also use department IT and department finance. So I would like to fetch the data from the two different departments using some kind of an or condition, right? So when you use or, this is the one condition that you have and this is the other condition that you have. Based on that, you can get the fetch the records where the department is IT or the department is finance. So whatever you want, you can use. Similar to the or clause, or condition, so you also have something called the and. So when you use and, so the two things has to match. When you use the or, either of them is match, right? So it has to match to either IT or finance. But in this case, and condition we cannot use in the same column in our particular table. That's I have used in within the IT department, whoever is a manager, I want to fetch that details, right? So in that specific case, this in the IT department and the designation is a manager, and John Doe is the manager of that particular record, right? So in this specific case, we have used the and condition. So sometimes you might be having multiple or conditions, right? So multiple or conditions, every time you might want to use or or. So that is very hard to use as an SQL statement, right? So in that specific use cases, what you can do is you can use the keyword called in, right? So the keyword called in will help us to fetch the data appropriately from that particular database. Instead of using or condition, what I used in. So in what I used an IT department and I used a finance department. So what is select employee ID, employee name, designation, department from employee, where the department in IT and finance. So this gives the same results as the R, right? So if you want to use any other else department, if you want to use some a department which is not there in our database, but if you want to fetch something like that, you can definitely use it within the in clause rather than uh, appending the or conditions all the times. At the same time, if you want to utilize the where condition, where you want to fetch the records where not in, right? So in this case, whenever the records are in IT and the finance, you are able to fetch the details, right? At the same time, if the records are not in IT or finance, if you want to fetch the results, you can use the not in keywords in the statement, SQL statement, right? So say at the same time, if you want to, so the similar to the other programming language, even SQL, the structured query language is also supports having the greater than, less than symbols. So where if you see this, right, so select employee, employee name, employee ID, employee name, designation, department from employee, where employee ID is 4. greater than 4. So whenever I use greater than 4, I was able to fetch all the records which are greater than 4, right? And if in the same way, whenever you use the greater than, you can also use the less than, right? So for example, I have a query where the employee ID is the less than 8. So which means I have to fetch the records from 1 to 7 because it's a less than 8, right? At the same time, you can also create the queries where you can, if you want to, whenever you are making a greater than comparison, if you want to fetch the record which is greater than or equal. So greater than or equal to gives the record of the including the count that we are mentioning over there. So for example, if you see greater than 4, which ignores the fourth record which has 4 employee ID, but equals to 4, which includes the record 4 for our use case. Similar fashion, you can also actually use the less than or equal to clause. This less than or equal to clause will also help you to utilize the give the record that is including 8. So if you see here, it's from 1 to 8 records you have received, which is including 8. And if you want to find out a record, even you can also use the not equals to. So the not equals to is actually basically gives, if the record is not 5, then give the rest of the records, right? So earlier if you go and see, so we have seen that equals to, right? Similar to the equals to, you can even also use not equals to symbol over there. Okay, so similar to the not equals to, you can also use the not symbol which is less than, greater than. So not equals to and this not is actually both are same, both are giving the same results for you whenever you execute these queries. So along with this, you also have a clause or the keyword that you have provided by MySQL is between. So basically, if you see the record, so if you want to fetch the records between 4 and 8, it is included 4 and it is included 8, and it's also provided the 5, 6, 7 records for you, right? So if you want to use the between, not, so probably let's see like what the results we get. So we got rest of the records that we have in that particular table, and it is not giving the records between 4 to 8 including 4 and 8. That is actually the good catch for you, so when you want to filter the results. So whenever you can, so for example, whenever you are executing, right, so basically you may also use the like keyword. It takes different kinds of an expressions, okay, and which will give the record with the percentile. Percentile is actually the match, 0 or many matches that you get, right? So if you see, if I go with the designation is M, I got the manager and marketing specialist, right? I can also use A, designation contains percentile, A percentile, so probably all the records might have A between in the designation part. That's why we have received all the records over here. The records which has A in it, those records actually received in the results. So finally, within the where clauses, I would like to also finally add, there are few keywords that you have is called is null, right? So probably, if, for example, if you take select employee ID, employee name, designation, department, from employee where designation is null. So designation is null. I don't have any records in the database where it is null. That's why it didn't return any records for us. But at the same time, there is also called is not null. Is not null will give the results of the records that we have in that particular table. So these are the different queries that we have that we can you build for any of your use case, and using the different where clauses and different the keywords that we have in the MySQL. So rather than taking a lengthy video, I'll continue discussing about some more select queries in our next session. Thank you for watching.